reads also that my movement already has the backing of an intricate global cross-platform propaganda network called Russosphere. Russosphere means Russian world. So saying I got the backing, and also during the article they say it was confirmed of my talks with the Kremlin. Of course, I've been talking with my enemy's enemy. It's not our enemy. Russia and the Kremlin has always helped black liberation movements in America and in Africa, and in South America, and in Asia. Movements that have...
Welcome, African Americans of Athens, Georgia. Let me briefly explain how you can take independent control over East Athens, then make all housing free and grant yourselves monetary reparations, as well as stop all injustice. First, let's do what Malcolm X and Martin Luther King Jr. advised before they were murdered by the United States government. They encouraged us to stop struggling for civil rights that are under government control, but to assert our human rights. The most powerful human right that we have is called the right of self-determination. Utilizing that right, we can take control over any area or city where we are the majority. First, establish a governing body and make new policies to benefit the people, such as free housing and monetary reparations. 2. Create a ballot asking the people do they wish to assert their right of self-determination and take independent political control over East Athens. Explain to them how voting yes will benefit them, such as free housing and reparations. 3. If the majority of people vote yes, then the new governing body can lawfully take control of the area and begin executing new policies. It may be hard to believe, but making a total change in our condition is just that simple. No need to continue to protest and put power in others' hands to do right when we can assert our right of self-determination. That is why Dr. King and Malcolm X suggested that we take the human rights approach. But they were courageous enough to stand for our rights. Are you? See you on March 23rd at the block rally and vote beginning at sunup on Nellie B. Avenue.
Yo, you already know what it is. So that's the question. Are you willing to stand up for your human rights? Are you willing to stand up for yourself? Or are you going to just be the person who will rather continue to keep hoping, continue to keep begging, continue to keep praying for someone to do right by you? So everything is all about context, right? So we're going to go, hold on. Let me open this up real quick.
Stabilize them.
So we're going to check this one out. And given the context, right, or the lack of, this is why these circumstances are what they is, right? So hold on, let me get to it real quick.
Jamaicans can no longer access their own beaches.
This is where they work. Say they don't have a other job. They don't have nothing else to turn to.
Tourists can pay for exclusive access to beaches and all-inclusive resorts. But everyday Jamaicans are increasingly being blocked out of them.
When you push a fisherman from a beach, where did you want him to go? We are living in between waters, and we have no access to a beach.
Some Jamaicans are organizing to take down the colonial-era land laws that still affect them today.
Jamaican came into emancipation landless and homeless, and that problem have not changed in Jamaica.
And they're suing companies for cutting off their access to the beaches.
And we also will not stop until the entire Jamaican public is able to access the beach freely.
Cook Unity is a direct-to-chef marketplace. Choose from hundreds of weekly menu items.
Tourists I get beach, rich people I get beach. When all come and buy, we have to buy access.
So let's stop. So this is what it means, right? When you are participating in someone ideology, meaning what exactly? Now, if you're saying that you are a Jamaican, now what makes you Jamaican? The fact that this is how you identify, and that's just it, right? Just by saying, hey, I'm a Jamaican, and because I'm a Jamaican, that's just what it is. Or your Jamaican status, is it based upon, it seems like how the government then dictates, ultimately what it is to be in Jamaican in that regards, right? Because the one thing of saying this is who I am, right? But now, if who you are is then only then relevant based upon how you could be who you are, then what's the point? It seems to me that someone is then telling you how you could then conduct yourself. Someone is then telling you how you could then act in that regard, right? So this is where we need to start from this perspective, understanding, like we just saw on the previous video, when it comes to understanding what having your right to self-determination means for you in your existence.
Tourists I get beach, rich people I get beach. When how come I buy we have to buy access to beach? That can't continue.
This is Steertown, a historic fishing community on the north coast of Jamaica. Local residents relied on the beach for their livelihood. But in 2020, two companies bought the land containing the pathways leading to Malmö Bay Beach.
Discrimination. Yeah. Apartheid thing. We're tired of that. That must end.
The owners built a cement wall along the property, effectively cutting off surrounding communities from the coast. Lifelong fisherman Norris Arscott lives up the hill in one of these communities. Both his father and grandfather before him worked as fishermen at the same beach that he did.
All right. That's the hotel there. And the beach is just right beside the hotel there. It doesn't take me more than like 8-10 minutes from here to the beach. You know, they push me off there. You know, I had to do 10 miles each morning to do my fishing work.
To access the new fishing beach, Norris is forced to bike at 4:30 in the morning along a busy highway.
The entire St. Ann to St. Mary is blocked out from we, the fishermen. We maintain taxis down there.
One of the companies announced a plan to build a 250-room resort on the land in front of Malmö Beach. It will sit beside two all-inclusive resorts that already block access to the coastline.
Yeah, they don't have fences. They got
When you just listen to all of the different circumstances that's being perpetuated, right? Having to pay taxes, right? Literally, in order to quote unquote survive, right? Having to go through all of these types of extremes in order to do what? Survive. The one question I ask individuals is this: when did you decide that this is how you are going to have your existence, based upon all of these different things that you're saying that you now have to go through? When did you decide that? When did you decide that? Now, if this is a question that you have never posed to yourself, you, you know, just think about it, right? And then you think about the significance of it, right? If you feel like you should have to just have your existence based from a result of clearly someone who's benefiting from you choosing to go along with these narratives, if this is ultimately then what you're saying, do then understand you're still making a choice to opt in to a system, understanding that however you choose to perceive whatever the system is, right? As far as how you think you can navigate with inside of the system. But again, keeping in mind that you made a choice. It's the same thing that I'm doing. The only difference is my choice consists of first me saying, why would I ever want to disconnect from being able to make my own decisions as it pertains to manifesting anything I see fit? Only now to put myself in a position to where now I have to go and I have to ask someone for permission in order for me to have my existence. Why would I do that? What kind of a person will willingly know that this is you could either be in this however they depict it, or you could have your own existence? Why would you then pick the one that makes it to where, again, depending upon how you're depicted in these people narratives, will then correlate to the quote unquote type of an existence that you would then forever have based upon your skin pigmentation? right? So why would you, knowing that, say, hey, you know what? I'm just gonna go ahead and I just want to go through all of these different things that all of these people said, knowing what it then symbolizes, but then yet still that's the part of the narrative that you are now attached to, not the part that then that then showcase your ancestors doing what, exercising what is known as their right of self-determination, right? It just always seems the conveniences of it being this part of the narrative. Again, who's benefiting from that? So it's really that simple. It couldn't be any simpler. But now we would rather now talk about, oh, how can someone do that? Again, we got to remember this, right? Money, this thing that is referred to as money, is the deception to create a perception that you could actually use this thing that they refer to as planet Earth to pay for planet Earth in that regards, right? So money is the deception to create a perception that you can actually use Earth to pay for Earth. Just think about that for a second. Everything that you're experiencing that derives from someone else's vision, not your own, in order for you then to gain access to said thing, you have to pay a fee for the thing that's already there, right? The establishment, whatever you want to, whatever it is, it's already there. But in order for you then to gain access, you got to pay a fee. And this is what people do repetitively, and they say, yeah, but this is normal. Interesting. But we'll get back to this, and then we'll wrap it up.
Here they don't have fences. They got mountains of concrete wall. You can see that.
According to local advocacy groups' calculations, less than 1% of Jamaica's coastline is accessible to the public.
We personally have no access to another beach. So we had no choice than to go where they push us. We've been occupying that beach for 70 years. Those beaches was like our playground because there was all togetherness. All fishermen, all children, everybody was together.
Even at 70 years old, North still relies on his income from fishing. When weather conditions are optimal, he can make a bit more than Jamaica's minimum wage.
Sometimes I catch just about 4 or 5 pounds. It depends on the weather out here, you know. 4 pound of fish would be like for $4,000. So I go every day as long as the sea is good. What else to do? There's nothing else.
Minimum wage in the country is approximately $85 per week. In comparison, the two all-inclusive resorts that operate on Malmebe Bay Beach can cost hundreds of dollars per person per night. Fisher folk like Norris often don't see the benefits of those tourism dollars.
I earn more money if I was fishing here. But what happened, I had to be going and coming to and from St. Anthony to here to make $1. It's a far, tall journey to do from here.
So, understanding, right? In order for this to work, first you had to first understand the what, which is what are you referring to? So, this is why everything that operates within inside of your existence has been labeled for you. These labels then have definitions, right? And then when you put these combinations, these labels together, it then creates a narrative in that regards, right? So just imagine the narratives that now individuals based upon the depiction, like we based upon pigmentation that we talked about earlier, is now forced to have to perpetuate in that regards based upon the narrative. Look at the conditioning. But I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Right? I got I got something to take care of, but I'm gonna go ahead and wrap it up here. Uh, Understanding this, right? When it comes to the things that we're saying in regards to how it, as far as when people contribute this word oppressor, right? So if you are now speaking from the perspective of saying you're being oppressed on, and you're now faced to have to say, what can I do? What could be done? The first thing I will say to you is, have you ever heard of you having the right of self determination as it's defined in the International Covenant on Civil and Political Rights? That's the very first thing. Because only based upon you being exposed to that is then where now we can now, from there we can now have a dialogue in that regards, right? Doing it any other way is going to stem from your lack of an understanding specific to knowing that this whole thing only works with participation. So if when you participate in it, it then gives you, then giving your power to that thing to have dominion over you. You already know what it is only informed consent. That's the only thing that's relevant. Until the next one, I'm out of here.